All right, we are going to follow up last week's video with another video, just kind of keeping it simple, folks, these days, through the lens of the general risk markets. Last week we talked about the Nasdaq and the strong uptrend. The Nasdaq has been in. I know there's been a lot of focus on the meeting, the rate cut, a lot of comparisons to the past. But as you saw and heard from me uh, a few years ago, when the opposite was kind of unfolding and rates were starting to be raised at one of the fastest rates in the history of raising rates, my focus wasn't on kind of the shared information that all the market participants we're talking about. Is more about the uptrend, the 20-year uptrend, and what the technicals were telling me, and the news, the happenings of today is always secondary to me, and that concept holds true for I don't know if you noticed or didn't notice what I was talking about, or didn't talk about in the last video, as it relates to, well, what if this happens with the Fed, or this? That's not how I analyze markets. The news to me is always secondary. We did get a breakout. My bias was to continuation in terms of risk markets, and now markets are seem to be resuming their general trend in terms of a strong uptrend. And so that's the lens at which I'm looking at everything else through. If we move over to Bitcoin, I still continue to see just a very, very healthy, constructive uptrend. The way that I'm interpreting what's going on right now is just simple reaccumulation, folks. Simple reaccumulation is how I'm seeing things in the context of very, very strong risk markets. Bitcoin, at least traditionally, has tended to lag. Again, I'm not a financial advisor. For those of you new to this format and my videos, what I talk about could go up, could go down, could go sideways. My bias is very, very strong to the upside, has been for a while. The this action, when I started doing these videos last summer, again, very reminiscent of what we have going on here, right? Just a time-based capitulation when really nothing is going on, but trading in one of the highest vol assets in a 20, 25, 30% range. Which should be our minimum expectation. The hardest thing to figure out is how long these consolidations can last. And for those of you that have also been following my videos for a long time, you know what moving average I look at on the 30-week, and that's the 30-week simple moving average. It told us a bit of a story back in the summer of 2023. Nothing decisive happened until we got a reclaim, okay? And that's when this impulsive movement started, and not until we got a valid reclaim. If we also look at back in March of 2023, this 30-week was a springboard for the conclusion of this first impulse. Okay. And so what's going on right now as it relates to the 30-week? I'm going to share MicroStrategy next. I'm going to share Mara next. I just remembered I didn't share, which I normally do, take you through what the agenda for the day is. So again, the risk markets is defined by the Nasdaq. Now we're looking at Bitcoin. We're specifically looking at where I believe we are in the context of the overall trend. And now I'm doing that using a little bit of Elliott wave, right? I like to triangulate on movements with a combination of Elliott wave movements, but also structural movements on a high time frame. This structure, the dominant structure, is very simple to me. It's what we're looking at in that large green rectangle, okay? And what we're doing right now, to me, is simply a consolidation structure at the top of a macro, just a massive accumulation, an accumulation event that's lasted almost 4 years now. And so you can interpret this as, this massive cup, and you kind of got this handle. However you want to look at it, you can look at it as just consolidation at the range highs, right? This macro range high, which is always bullish to me. Sorry for those lines, folks; those look awful. And then I'm going to share a MicroStrategy, which is a little bit clearer, I believe, than this chart in terms of its bullish implications. But back to kind of diving into this 30-week specifically, as I'm looking at it, what's going on right now? What's going on right now is we've only had 1-2 closes over that 30-week since July. Okay, since July. And we've been kind of flirting with it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 for the better part of 3 months. We saw that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 flirting with it here for less than 3 months. Now we're over 3 months, but notice what hasn't happened. Okay, so the key is not only inclusion for me, but exclusion. Exclusion criteria number one for me is the Nasdaq, the global risk markets. Okay, exclusion criteria number two for me, in terms of the highest probability on where I see this trend going, is how much time has gone by at a key technical level without a material dump. And I think I reviewed this last week. The market doesn't give you 3 months, right? Here it was a few weeks. Here you had a few weeks before you see strong reactions. And here you saw what, a 75-80% move inside 2 months. Whereas if we're looking at, and folks, for those on smaller iPhones, I'm pointing back right now to the reaction around the 30-week back in December 2021, as well as a 1-week rejection back in March of 2022. Here we've had multiple rejections, right? 1, 2 rejection, 3 rejection, and not surprisingly, folks, look at where we are right now. Look at where the market ran up to this week, to a T, to this 30-week, 64 and low change, 64 and low change. That's not a coincidence to me. And so, again, my interpretation here is the market is frustrating traders, short-term speculators that look at this price action, that don't look at Bitcoin, the asset, with the conviction that's needed to hold this high vol asset, and say, ooh, look at that rejection. That's bearish, right? That's bearish. And you make a decision based on a moving average, which I never do. I've made that mistake in my past in terms of high conviction, long-term assets that hopefully, I'll hold the majority and never sell. And that's Bitcoin for me. But what Bitcoin does really, really well is get those short-term speculators frustrated, and then rinses them from the market before, in my opinion, it looks to make its real move. And again, this real move to me is like the opposite of what I think the market is positioned as right now. Again, I don't see any calls for 150K, 200K, 300K Bitcoin back in this area. If you'll remember, let's go back to 2020, January 2020, where we had this massive 1, 2, and then this huge third move. Okay, this huge third move, and then the subdued fifth move. This huge third move, forget Elliott wave, just this huge, from 9,000 to 40,000 inside 3 months, that's a really, really big move. That's a really, really big move. We haven't seen anything like that so far. You know, we went from 27 to 74, but that took, that took a lot longer. That took about 6 months. So about, twice as fast and more aggregate gains. That's an extended third move, extended third wave type of move. And so what did that do? That conditioned the market here to say, we're going to 300, 400, 500, 600K. And what happened was the opposite, subdued fifth. Okay, fifth of three. My contention here is we are setting up for an extended fifth wave type of move where since this move was, and I'm not going to call it subdued. This was a very textbook type of 15K to 30K, right? Then we digested those gains and then moved from 25K to 75K, 74K, whatever it was, 73, 74. So just a normal type of third move, nothing extended. However, in commodities, it is pretty common to see extended fifths. And I think we're setting up for a fifth of fifth, which would make the extended fifth more probable in my book. Okay. And so whereas the masses are now telling us that the bullish masses, that upside, 100 to 150K, I think we're setting up for something, north of 250, 300K. Wouldn't surprise me in the least. When that happens, we're going to find out. Could we get a little check back here before what I believe is going to happen happens? Sure, we could. Always could. Could the market, get just keep running and keep running and keep running? Sure, it could. Do we have one more possibility at another low? Is this 4 not in? Absolutely, that could be possible. All right, I've got this kind of double 3 WXY going on, but there certainly is a possibility that, we've got one more before the market rips. And then there's a possibility that I'm wrong too, right? But my convictions here, my bias still is with this extended fifth. And I think a lot of the bulls are going to be even very, very wrong here. Retail hasn't arrived. We're in price discovery in global markets. It's clear that a lot of people missed this move, right? If you'd been on Twitter, I don't know how many, if any, large accounts were calling for all-time high before the halvening. So that just tells me a lot missed this move. And then you get in after you miss it, and that's what we've got going on here. 7 months, 8 months of just chopping people out that were late to the party, so to speak, speculators. And so the market's acting as it should, confusing the masses, even the bulls. Now kind of talking about limited upside. MicroStrategy, I believe, is giving us a clearer picture. This is a weekly chart of MicroStrategy. Man, I haven't done MicroStrategy in a while. I think I was one of the very few that was talking about MicroStrategy in terms of one of the more bullish setups in the entire market through, this entire consolidation. We had what was that? 4x gains inside of 2 months after that consolidation broke out. After the asset broke out of its consolidation, and now we've just been reaccumulating again, in my opinion, in the context of, remember that huge rectangle I drew on Bitcoin? This one's clear, folks. This one's clear. Where's 99.99% of the price action been in MicroStrategy since they acquired Bitcoin? Sorry. Let's see. Get me over here. Okay. It's been in, and so August, they started acquiring in August 2020. Okay. So there. Where's what's price doing right now? What's price doing now as it relates to this is the range. This is the range, right? MicroStrategy has been in, broke out of this range. And again, a lot of people were late to this MicroStrategy party. I didn't hear anyone talking about MicroStrategy. I heard MicroStrategy was dead when the ETFs arrived. Well, who needs it MicroStrategy anymore? And then all of a sudden we're hearing a lot about MicroStrategy. And so a lot of people adding it here, essentially reaccumulation, in my opinion. I don't think the market gives you 7 months, 8 months to get out near, 20, 30% of the top. I just don't believe that's one of the attributes of a distribution. Generally speaking, uh, you have 3, 4, 5 weeks, a month, couple months, and then you see large drawdowns. I mean, that happens every time. Anyway, so MicroStrategy, I think, shows us a clearer picture of what's going on with this beautiful flagging type of consolidation structure above all-time high. If in fact this move is complete here, I've got kind of an A, B, C, then 5 is in front of us. I think it wouldn't shock me to see a 2, 3x move in short order with MicroStrategy, if not more. Next, let's just use Mara. Let's use Mara as my proxy for the miners. I used the WGMI last week. Mara, again, is just frustrating people. I see a lot of, lot of people that are frustrated with the price action. But again, that's what the market's trying to do. It's not trying to make things easy, not trying to make a potential. Let's go back here. Let's go back to August 2020, right? 5. It went from, in 3 weeks, it went from 89 cents to $5. And then it went back all the way to $1.50 prior to then consolidating for a few weeks and then, making its move to $55. Good luck trading this type of volatility. I think the more people that try to trade this, the more are going to be frustrated and are going to lose. I think those that have conviction in something, if they're acquiring it and simply hold and make, their allocations after big drops, right? A drop, a drop, a drop, a drop, right? Big drops. So you kind of try to allocate in those ranges. Probably gonna do a lot better than those that are trying to nickel and dime in and out of these things. So, all right, let's just objectively look at this price action. I've kind of reevaluated my count a little bit, but forget the count. Okay, forget the count. What do we have? If we're going all the way back to 2018, we essentially have this. You have a channel, okay? You have a channel of price action. And right now we're towards the bottom end of this channel, okay? We've got one touch here, we've got one touch here. We potentially are making, a third touch here. We've had, maybe one touch there, one touch there. So, does this channel trump everything? No, not at all. It's just an observation on my end. Okay. So we've got this price channel, and most recently we have, going back to April of 2022, I see the tail of two. I see a tail of distribution and I see a tail of accumulation. Okay. This is the distribution. This is the accumulation. Okay. And in my opinion, and so let's throw up that 30-week. In the 30-week, again, got separation coming up and out of it. And after that separation, after that major impulsive move, that first negotiation with it lasted a while prior to a failure and a big pump. Okay. That's my interpretation. So if I'm calling that distribution, if I'm calling this, this head and shoulders type setup, this, rounded bottom, this cup and handle, right? You also have just this beautiful kind of cup and handle like formation. Essentially, this redistribution after a major accumulation event. That's what I'm calling this, a reaccumulation after a major accumulation event. Then what I'm looking for next is that. That's what I'm looking for next. When it arrives, I don't know. Do we have one more leg lower? We sure could, right? We sure could. I'm looking at this more like a kind of a leading diagonal, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to make 1, and then we've got A, B, C, 2, and then 3, 4, 5 yet to come. So a little bit of an adjustment on my previous count. Either way, whether C is in or we have one more stab lower, down to the 12s, something to that area, I think the largest gains are still in front of us. They're still in front of us. Just the question is when year end would be the highest probability, making this move through the end of the year, challenging a previous all-time high at a minimum at 85 before any type of pullback, and then maybe into the summer you get into the hundreds, 150 range. So that's the way I'm going to be looking at Mara. And I hope that was beneficial. And that kind of just goes for all the miners, folks. Whether it's Mara, WGMI, they're all going to move in tandem. And so CleanSpark, Iron, Mara, WGMI, Riot. I don't know which one's going to outperform. I have no idea. Cores, I don't know. But I do think they're going to move generally in tandem. And so today I'm using Mara as that proxy. Hope you all have a great rest of your weekend. Look forward to keep doing more of these, and take care.